Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about two options. We're going to be talking about the high yield savings account for Capital One and Discover. And we're going to go over the best features, and at the end of the day, I'm going to give you my personal preference and see which one I would recommend to my mom. So the stakes are very high here in this video, so stick around until the end because we have a lot to cover. With this being said, I've developed a certain set of requirements over the last couple of years at this point after doing research, after looking into high yield savings accounts myself, and also as an engineer, as someone who likes requirements, as someone who wants or needs to know what we're looking for whenever we are designing the perfect high yield savings account per se. So we are talking about a high competitive APY, we're talking about no monthly fees, we're talking about minimum deposits, we're talking about easy access to our money, of course also withdrawal limits, good interfaces, we're talking about human customer service, no hidden requirements, no funny footnotes, no funky stuff like that. And also, of course, at the end of the day, one of the biggest contributors to at least my decision making is the branding, that warm and fuzzy feeling of confidence, comfort, and familiarity with a certain organization. So we're going to be going over all of these requirements and more in the next couple of slides. So let's get right into it, shall we? By the way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you like it and subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in any of these organizations, click the link in the description. All right, with that being said, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the APY, aka the interest rate, which is compounded daily and paid monthly. That means that at the end of the month, you're going to receive a payment on your savings account for the money that you have. All right, so Discover has an APY of 4.35%, just like Capital One 360, not much variation there. And you might be thinking, okay, so then I can just pick either. And you may be right if that's the only thing you care about, but there are other things that I will personally consider when choosing a high yield savings account. For example, is each of these organizations FDIC insured? Yes, both of these organizations are insured up to $250,000, and that is the standard for a lot of banks. There are certain organizations out there that do offer FDIC insurance of up to 2 million, sometimes even 8 million in the case of Wealthfront, which is an outrageous case. I've never seen anything like that. But when it comes to these two organizations and comparing these two, they're very even. They're also even on minimum deposit, zero for each one of them. Maintenance fees, I don't like maintenance fees, and that's just some personal preference, because any type of fee that you get in your savings, it ends up eating up on the earnings that you have from your money. Now, the main difference in this first comparison comes from customer service. Discover does offer customer service, human customer service 24/7, while Capital One 360, they do have customer service available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you have questions beyond business hours, then maybe Discover can be a good organization or a good option. That's a great feature in my personal opinion. Now, let's jump into the next comparison. More requirements. What are we looking for in a high yield savings account? Let's talk about access. How can you access your money? How can you take money out? How can you see what's going on with your balance? Well, with Discover and Capital One, both have access through the web to the application. Very, very standard there. Also, they both offer ATM access if you have the checking account. As we'll see in a few seconds, both of these organizations do offer checking accounts as part of their services. Now, one thing that Capital One 360, and it's something that I haven't seen with many other high yield savings accounts that I've seen, is the fact that they do offer branches. Now, I am in the Northern Virginia area near Washington, D.C., and I have seen Capital One branches. So to me, it's very advantageous, it's very cool, and very useful, convenient to have a branch down the street that I can go and talk to someone about my high yield savings account. A lot of the organizations out there, they only offer online options, online high yield savings accounts. But Capital One 360 is the exception so far, based on what I've seen. So if you're someone that likes to go talk to a teller, if you're someone that is a little bit more school, you want to have a conversation to someone about your account, then Capital One is already pulling ahead from my perspective. All right, so now let's talk about making deposits. Making deposits, as we'll see here, Capital One also comes ahead a little bit here, because guess what? Discover does offer bank transfers, very standard. They offer direct deposit. Also, you have the ability to mail checks. You also have the ability to deposit checks through your phone, which is a very cool feature. Personally speaking, I love that feature. Now, Capital One, because they have branches and also they have additional features that I haven't seen before, at least that I haven't seen with certain banks advertising it on their website. And that is, they do allow you to have bank transfer, which is very standard. They allow you to make deposits through, guess what? Direct deposits. They also allow you to make deposits into your savings account using Zelle. I have heard some people use Zelle with other organizations, but I want to say that the fact that Capital One 360 is advertising it as part of, hey, this is just regular banking for us. It's a regular feature that we offer. So it's amazing in my book. Of course, they also allow you to have e-check. And by the way, Zelle, it's like, if you never heard of it, it's a service that it's somewhat new. I've seen it over the last year and a half maybe. And it's like Venmo, PayPal, but as opposed to sending it to a third party, it goes from bank account to another bank account. And that's the way I've used it in the past, and that's the way I've seen it used. Maybe there's other applications. I am not aware of those, but I'm only speaking here from my personal experience. So that's great if you ask me. Now, also ATM. If you do offer the checking with Capital One, you can access your money through your transfer to your checking and then take the money through your checking. Also, they do have branches available that you can go and make a deposit. Now, here's another cool feature that I haven't seen with other banks, and that is you can also add cash to your high yield savings account in stores like CVS, Walgreens, Do and Read. So it's very, very convenient the way I'm seeing this Capital One 360 high yield savings account. And if you're someone that just loves going to a branch and talking to someone and handling cash and making deposits, then hey, Capital One, it's already pulling ahead more than Discover so far. Now, here's another thing that we need to worry about, because that is a transfer to external banks. How long does each organization take when they are transferring money from a high yield savings account to a third party, to an external bank? So Discover, which is a weakness in my personal opinion, they take about 4 to 5 business days. And Capital One takes the very much standard 1 to 3 business days. And I want to say 4 to 5 is stretching a little bit, because then at that point, you have to plan well in advance and wait and be very, very patient. So hopefully you don't need your money right away. And if you don't need your money right away before 4 to 5 business days, or before even 1 to 3 business days, what you could do is not only open a high yield savings account, but also open a checking, transfer from your savings to your checking, go to an ATM and withdraw money that way if you really need the money that bad. So that's just an option that I thought of and you could find useful. Now, having said all of this, do these organizations offer all-in-one services? And by that I mean, do they offer more than high yield savings accounts? And both of these organizations do, in fact, as you may or may have not known, high yield savings accounts, checking accounts, loans. They offer credit cards, and these are two giants in the financial space as well. They're not little companies. They're big companies. They have a lot of popularity in certain parts of the United States, in certain parts of the world. It just depends on what you've been exposed to, what you yourself are more familiar with. So let me know what your thoughts are thus far in the comments. All right, so now let's talk about X factors. Let's talk about branding. Let's talk about, hey, Discover is an established brand that was founded by Sears back in 1985. I bet you didn't know that. It's under the umbrella of Discover Financial Services, while Capital One 360, Capital One was founded in 1994 and is a subsidiary of Capital One Financial Corporation. Now, this is just a little bit of history that personally, it gives me insight into where they were in the past. Also, it helps me develop that sense of familiarity, comfort. Like, I want to know your story. There's a quote that I like from Abraham Lincoln. And back in the day, he said, "I don't like that man. I must get to know his story." When you don't like something, when you don't like someone, if you just know their story, if you know someone's story, you find a lot of relevancies. You kind of start related to them a little bit more. And who knows, in the sense of these financial institutions, when you know maybe what they went through, when you know when they were founded, maybe there are certain facts and certain things that just seem familiar to you, and that just helps you develop that sense of familiarity, trust, comfort. Okay, I see that you've been going through a lot of tough times. I see that you survive recessions. I see that you help people in all communities, certain communities around the country and the world. So all of that just helps you become a little bit more familiar with them, and it helps you develop a sense of relationship with them per se. So that's just me, by the way. That's just me. All right, so now let's talk about withdrawal limits per month. Something that is very important. If you are someone that is worried about, hey, can I take money out of my high yield savings account? And the answer is, of course, yes. But there's a limit. The standard limit up to April 2020 was 6. And after April 2020, the Fed came and said, hey, we're not longer going to be enforcing this requirement for banks to limit their customers to 6 withdrawals per month. So now it's up to banks themselves. Now, Discover offers the standard 6, and Capital One also offers 6 withdrawals per month. So there's nothing to worry about there if you're someone that does not use your high yield savings account that much. Now, when it comes to client reviews, of course, it's very important. I want to know what people are saying. What are people's experiences with each of these organizations? Discover comes lagging a little bit here at 3.2 out of 5. So that is about a 64%. And that is according to WalletHub, a third-party organization, and according to 702 reviews. Now, when it comes to Capital One, they do come ahead a little bit here at 3.7. That's about a 74% satisfaction rate after 921 reviews. So again, one of the things that I love saying here when I go over these client reviews is it's worth taking the time and looking into the 1-star reviews just to get a little bit of insight for why the scores may be low. Some people, and unfortunately, the most negative people out there are the loudest, and they just maybe make reviews out of anger. They're emotional, so they just want to get back to the organization. So going through these reviews really helps you identify whether or not something is a problem, if it keeps happening repeatedly to many customers, or if it's something that just happened once and maybe it's not a big deal overall. So with that being said, of course, here's my personal confidence comparison. And the confidence comparison for me, it's the warm and fuzzy feeling of trust, familiarity, comfort with a certain organization. And I developed this score from 1 to 5. Discover gives me a 4.0. It's a well-established organization. They got great products going for them. They've been around for quite some time. But Capital One, I give it a 4.5. And even though they're both established brands at this point, personally, I am just more familiar with Capital One. I've had their credit cards. I had a Quicksilver credit card back in the day. In fact, I still have it because it's the first credit card that I ever got, and I don't want to close it. If you close your first line of credit, then it starts damaging your credit scores. It's almost like a strategy, the reason why I have the Capital One up to this point. But I've used it in the past. I've never had any problems with them. It helped establish my credit. And also, Capital One does have branches available just in case something happens, in case you need to go talk to someone, to an emergency. Maybe you just need to withdraw money within the next hour. You can just go to a branch right away and take money out of your savings right there. So to me, so far, as you can see, and as you can imagine, which one would I recommend to my mom? So of course, I am biased here because of the familiarity and the branding, because I've never had any problems with them, because I have credit cards, and also because they have branches available. My personal favorite, and also because, by the way, both of these organizations have the same APY, the same interest rate. So it really comes down to who you yourself are more familiar with. And in my case, the one that I would recommend to my mom is Capital One 360. But it's all about branding. One of the beautiful or the crazy things about marketing, companies spend so much money on just planting the seed in your head, planting the seed that they exist, that they're here for you, that they want to bank with, that they want to do business with you. And by the way, I drive by the Capital One headquarters in McLean, Virginia, like almost 2 or 3 times a week. So Capital One is almost like ingrained in my brain, right? Now, my second option, which based on your experience, it might not be a bad one. Just for me, it comes lagging here between these 2 options themselves, and that is Discover. I am personally less familiar with them. It takes a bit longer to transfer the funds from your high yield savings to another organization. 4 to 5 business days to me is a little outrageous, a little too much. There's also no branches available. They're all completely online. And when you compare these 2 options, then Capital One would be coming ahead in my personal opinion. So which one speaks to you the most? I want to know about you. Why are you considering these 2 options? Are you considering any others out there? If you're interested in opening an account with any of these organizations, depending on which one is for you, then check the links in the description. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys on the next one.